When I retired from the corporate world in 2007, I decided to write a novel, like The Devil Wears Prada. But I wanted it based on my experience working for Wall Street firms. So through my book, I wanted to help others succeed in their work life, and also to add some spice to the book, I added chapters how people can find romantic partners. So what I did, being a teacher at heart, because I started out being a high school and college math teacher, and then transitioned to a corporate career for 30 years, working with computers, what I decided, since I'm a teacher at heart, I would have a list of lessons learned at the end of each chapter. Now, each of these chapters are based upon my own experience. The reason it's a novel, because I didn't want to use any company names, I didn't want to use people, and so forth.
You didn't want to get arrested.
That's right. But people who I worked for, they would recognize themselves. Okay, one chapter I'm going to start with is entitled Handling a Difficult Boss in a Different Way. Now, Jessica Allen, who is the main character in the book, is working at this Wall Street firm for almost 8 years. And she's discovered that every Christmas there's something called a bloodbath, where they would have layoffs. And people would be lined up in Manhattan with their boxes of what they had, contents in their office, waiting for the cars to take them home. Jessica survived for many years, but in her 8th year, she started feeling that a plot was evolving to get rid of her. So she was determined to leave the company, of course, but on her own terms. So what she did, and this is what I have in the lessons learned, document all that has transpired during difficult situations. So that's what she did, and she called a human resource group together, and she had her documentation. Every day, every conversation, what happened, and they saw that she had good material for a lawsuit. So they let her go quietly, and they let her also and they gave her a severance package, and she was able to leave on her own terms. So the next lessons learned: keep your dignity, integrity, and self-respect intact when dealing with difficult bosses. And also, another lessons learned: stand your ground when you have the ground to stand on. Another chapter, this one's about romance, is trying to find Mr. Right at a singles weekend. Okay, Jessica's now in her early 30s, and she's worked a lot, and she said she really wants to find the right person. So she meets Nick at the singles weekend. Nick is charming, handsome, wealthy, successful, the ideal person. But, as usual, the romance fizzles. So my lessons learned is, first one, don't make a superficial checklist for finding Mr. Right. Next, let a new relationship develop slowly. Third, when you feel like you're Ms. Right, then Mr. Right will find you. Another chapter related to work is finding a mentor. Now, Jessica is now working at another firm after all these firms, and she was recruited by a former boss. Now, this boss treats her like family and helps her get promoted. She's working now in Manhattan, has also an office in New Jersey, and things are going great, except there are strings attached. Her boss, who treats her like family, wants her to hire a family friend. Well, Jessica, who is completely ethical, tells her boss this person is not qualified. She's overqualified for the position, and she doesn't want to hire her. Unfortunately, the boss is livid, and she gives Jessica a terrible time. Taking away her office, taking away Jessica becomes devastated. However, Jessica, having a very good attitude, decides that she's going to find a mentor. So this is the first time in the book where I introduce the reader to how valuable a mentor is. And one lessons learned is a mentor can help you gain confidence and believe in yourself in addition to guiding you, helping you, and nurturing you in your career. And another lessons learned, don't become too friendly with your boss. Another chapter that's again related to romance is entitled Being Ms. Right. Now, in this chapter, Jessica, who's living in New Jersey, has a blind date with a guy who lives in San Diego, California. Now, the way this works out is this guy, his name is Drew, sends her tickets round-trip tickets to come and spend the time with him in San Diego. So Jessica says, why not? You know, she does have some backup plan, but she does it. What happens, again, she gets off the plane, oh, this charming, wonderful, fascinating person awaits her. However, strings attached. He believes in reincarnation. And he believes that he and Jessica were together in a former life. So therefore, after spending a couple hours with Jessica, he proposes. So Jessica feels, I've got to get out of here, and she does have a backup plan. So the lessons learned for this chapter is, there's more to happiness than lots of money and adventure. And also, take risks that are calculated by analyzing the worst case scenarios. Now, in my final chapter, which is called My Finale, is actually based on how I met my husband. So it tells how Jessica does finally find her true soulmate. And in my acknowledgement, I have, most of all, I'm grateful to my husband, Don, who's my rock and the love of my life.
Well, I bet we have some interesting questions about this novel, supposed novel. Anybody have a question? I think everybody's a little dumbfounded. Here we go.
Yes.
How long in your travel along this road before you ran into your husband, in terms of being early 30s?
Oh, I met my husband before I worked here. So it's really, I sort of projected. So I got married before all this happened, but I wanted it to be a single person just to make the story interesting. And also because before I started working on Wall Street, I had been married. So it's not, you know, it's not completely autobiographical.
Thank you.
Yeah. But the single parts were before I met my husband. You know, those were.
Did you know quite a few single young ladies that?
Yes.
I thought so.
That's right.
Yeah.
That,
So they're a composite of Jessica.
Yes, right.
Do you
Is it-
think there's a conflict between having a successful career as a woman and a husband?
Please repeat your question.
Here's the mile for you.
Oh, you think there may be a conflict in having a successful career as a woman and finding a husband?
Well, if you're not married already and you do have a successful career, it is difficult. It really is, because of the long hours that you have, and also sometimes there's some competition. So it is. It's really best if you meet your husband before you start climbing the corporal ladder. Impossible.
Too late.
Another question, there's something going on over here in private, but I guess we're going to keep it private. You had a question?
I'd like to hear your comments concerning spontaneity, because two of the examples you gave, when she thought she might be fired, she documented everything.
Yes.
And then when she went out to San Diego, she had this plan.
Right.
And I wonder, is that more a feminine characteristic, have to be so guarded? And how does one have a full life without spontaneity?
Yeah. I think you have to have a balance, actually. At work, spontaneity wasn't possible, you know, because you do have certain rules and you have to, you know, go by the rules. But when you're out of work, then you have that freedom to be spontaneous. Now, even though she was spontaneous, she still had, you know, friends who, just in case things didn't go right, that they would be able to protect her or something, because this was somebody who she had never met before. But out of work, it's easier to be more adventurous and just to, you know, try to do new things.
And do you think that's more a feminine characteristic in business than it would be for a
Could
male?
you speak in the mic?
Yeah. Is that more a feminine characteristic in business rather than one that a male might manifest?
Yeah, I would think so, because I think that women are still more goody two-shoes, that they do want to follow the rules, and they feel that, oh, if I digress a little bit, maybe I'll lose my job, and I want to follow the rules. But a man would say, well, he's just being a guy, and he has, it's more, very often, a male can be more courageous.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for that.